Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So we're slowly admitting everyone in the waiting room. We're just going to wait a couple of seconds for all of us to get here. Okay, we have a lot more joining. Welcome, everyone. Hi.
Hi.
All right, we're going to begin in just a minute. I want to give everyone the chance to get here. Maybe someone's coming in a minute or two late. All right. Hi. Hello. Great. All right. We have 20 of us here so far. Good job. Great. We're also live streaming, so you can invite people to watch us on YouTube or you can watch us back later. All right, 22 of us here. We're just going to wait a bit more and then we're going to kick it off. Okay. So hello again, everyone. If you're just getting here, hi, we're going to kick it off soon. So let's see if we have any more here in the waiting room. All right, I think we're good to go. I think we're good to start. So hello again, my name is Anissa. I'm from the WeVoi team, and we're going to be having quite a good talk here today with Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
So we're going to hear more from Karen later. We're going to hear from you guys as well. First, I want to say a bit about myself. So I'm going to be hosting today's talk. I'm going to be answering any questions you may have later, although we're going to leave most of that to Karen. First, we're going to introduce what WeVoi is for a little while, and we're going to talk about some of the aims of this program and so on. So, right, I want to kick off by asking you guys where you're joining us from. You can feel free to write that down in the chat box here below. So just let me know which countries you're joining us from. You can find this here at the bottom of the screen there. Hi from Dubai. Hello, Ahmad from Afghanistan, Macedonia, Tamara from Iraq. Hi. Philippines. Hello, Fiona. All right, we've got quite a group here. Hi from Indonesia. Hi, City. Tanish from Malaysia. Hello. Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Hello, Saif from Dubai. Ahmad from Iraq. Hello. Okay, so
Amazing.
Glad to have you all here with us today, joining us. So I guess we're going to kick it off by talking about what WeVoi is. So WeVoi is an online public speaking competition for young people such as yourself who are eager to voice their ideas and make a change. Our challenge provides a platform for young speakers like you who are aged 10 to 19 to realize their potential, to raise their voice, and to share that voice with others. So I want to show you guys a short video about WeVoi. It's going to be packed with some interesting information about our program, and then we're going to move on from there. All right, here we go. Alrighty, so that was it. We hope you enjoyed that. That's just some introductory information about WeVoi, about our age categories, about some of the topics and so on. So what we're gonna have a look at next is one of the videos sent in by one of our participants. And we want you to listen closely to the topic she's addressing and what she's talking about, and just try to, get into it and really see what WeVoi is about. So that's what we're gonna have a look at now.
The person who has inspired me the most sounds like a tough question. Type of question you're constantly asked but never have an answer for. Like when you were a kid. Everyone I meet has the urge to ask you what job you would like to have when you grow up. And then you think to yourself, do I even know what I like? Is there a passion that I have that would stick with me for long enough to actually get a job involving it? Eventually you have this conversation with yourself in childhood. At one point, you get the feeling that you don't even know who you are. And it's true. You discover yourself more and more every day. But being asked who your role model is should be easier, as it isn't really something about yourself, but more about choosing one person out of a couple that you see daily on TV or on the internet, or you had just simply heard of. Even though the question itself isn't that challenging, it doesn't mean that its answer is easier. You have to choose someone whose steps you would follow no matter what. Someone who inspires you to do as much and as good as him or her. In my case, it took me a while to figure it out. I realized that the people that matter to me the most should at least make it on the list. After thinking about it, my final choice was my piano teacher. My piano teacher is a person everyone should admire. From living in a small town, she went to owning her own music school. I've always admired her for the hard work she puts in everything and her determination. I have never seen her give up. Not even in the moment when she left her job behind and took the risk to open her own school. She worked hard. It's exactly what I want to do in order to achieve my goals and make my dreams come true. Learning to do something new, no matter what it is, learning how to play an instrument, learning how to sew, or learning how to practice a sport, having someone there that could help you makes a big difference. I remember the day when I decided that I wanted to learn how to play the piano, when I was only 5 years old. I had heard of my piano teacher from one of my friends. After finding out about her, I instantly begged my mom, as convincingly as a 5-year-old could, to start taking piano lessons. And so my mom accepted. And up to this day, she doesn't regret it. And neither do I. I have learned so many things from my piano teacher. Not only about music, but life lessons. For example, I came one day to one of our regular classes. Little did my teacher know that I had just had a fight with my best friend, and I wasn't really feeling well. That lesson started, and after 5 minutes, I couldn't keep it in anymore. I started crying, and she comforted me for the whole hour. She told me some things that no one could have told me to make me feel better, but her. Everything she said calmed me down and helped me watch things from another perspective. How sweet and relaxing her voice was, and how the advice she gave me changed radically the thoughts in my head. Meant, and it still means a lot to me. My piano teacher is one of the most special people I know, and I won't ever forget how much love and knowledge she has given me.
Oh,
All right, so that was from one of our participants, and we hope that some of you will actually go on to compete in WeVoi and actually send a video like this in the future to us with a short speech of your own, considering that you are here today with us. So now I want to talk about the aim of our platform, WeVoi, and then the aim of this workshop and why we're here today. When it comes to the aim of WeVoi, it's mostly just to give students a platform to express their ideas and to inspire others. We truly believe that every young person has the capacity to change the world, and we want to help them do this by giving them a voice through WeVoi. So when it comes to this workshop in particular, the aim of this is to have an experienced public speaker coach, which is Karen, who's with us here today, share with us some tips and tricks on how to improve our public speaking skills, and just to hear some of her ideas and experiences, and hopefully take something away with us. So Karen Hale, who is with us here today, is an international presentation skills coach. She teaches and coaches many potential speakers on how to have presence while speaking, how to feel confident, and how to be authentic. So Karen, I'm giving the stage over to you.
Lovely. Well, it's such a privilege to be here and to be working with students from 19 down to 10. It's fabulous to be able to embed those communication skills so early in your careers. You've got the most wonderful opportunity to give the world your ideas, to change the way people think, to change the way they act, and to change the world. If you can do that at this young age, it's a wonderful opportunity and really worth taking. My main tip is choose a subject that you really, really care about. And then all the so-called presentation skills fall into place. So what happens is that your idea becomes the main issue. You take a step back, and then the idea comes forward and reaches out into the world. You want to be authentic. People often say, we want an authentic speaker. And I know what they mean. You don't have to pretend to be anything that you're not. You're not acting, you're not performing. It's a bit like a peacock. So you're going to be the peacock with the feathers out. So it's a high definition version of you. And then that will make everything much, much more relaxed. I'd love you to do one thing for me now. Just take a moment and think about a great conversation you had recently with someone when you were really engaged with them, and think how that felt. You wanted to get your points across. Your hands were gesturing, your eyes were making contact, your body language was natural. Now, when you do a presentation, as we saw recently just now, which was fabulous, it's just a conversation. It's a well-structured conversation. So often I see people who stand up, and this is when they're much older than you, they stand up, do a presentation, put their hands behind their back. Go back to your idea of when you were having a conversation. No one stands and talks or sits and talks with their hands behind their back. Bring your hands forward, let them gesture, let them stress a point. And there's something magical happens. When you start using your hands, your voice relaxes. Use your face. I think it's also sometimes with younger speakers, I've noticed that they think, I'm going to be terribly serious and I'm going to have a deadpan face. Don't. You want to be able to stress your points with your face. You're telling the world how you feel about your subject. So you're making an emotional connection as well as an intellectual connection. You've got the intellectual connection with your content, and then the emotional connection with your body and face. Eyes. A lot of people get very nervous if you're standing and talking to people. They avoid eye contact. Think of the conversation again. You want to make eye contact. You want to see whether your audience are going to sleep, so you're going to speed up. Or if they're looking really perplexed, then you know that you can say it again or slow down. One really important tip is not to memorize word for word your presentation, because then you won't get the eye contact. Because what happens is then people start reading it off screen or off in their mind's eye. Your voice. I used to do bedtime stories with my daughter, and I used to make it really interesting. I used to do the voices, I changed the pace, I changed the pitch, I made the words really interesting. She never went to sleep. So I thought, So then I went on to monotone, kept the voice very, very even. Didn't go up in pitch, didn't go down, didn't vary the pace. She was asleep straight away. And that taught me something quite important, that your voice is so important to be able to get the quality and to express yourself clearly with that. The biggest gift you can give an audience is actually sometimes to stop talking. Just to pause for a moment, your most important point, stop afterwards, because they've got to take the information, hear it, take it, process it. And if you want them really to remember it, you need to give them time to add it to some information that they've already got in their mind. Then you can change their minds. I mean, this is all very well saying this, but I think sometimes I found much older professionals standing up, and we've been in the room, we've practiced their presentation, it's been fabulous. I've sat back and go, oh great, I can relax now, you're on your own, you're great. They stand up and they freeze. And it's the nerves have taken it over. You do want to be nervous because that will give you energy. If you've got no nerves, it's really boring. If you've got too much nerves, you're going to not perform well. You want that middle line. And I don't know whether anyone's seen the TED Talks by Amy Cuddy. She did some fascinating research on how your body language affects how people see you and think about you, but it also affects how you feel. And she did the power pose. And she talks about your arms are right up high or hands on your hips. Your legs are wide apart. And if you hold this position for 2 minutes, you feel stronger and you feel calmer. But the one I really like is the deep breathing. So just try this for a moment, and try this anytime you're feeling nervous. Just breathe in through your nose. Hold for a second and then breathe slowly out. Do it a couple more times. Breathe in and breathe out. And you should feel yourself feeling much calmer. And I like to multitask and do the power pose and breathing at the same time. So I hope these tips have helped you a bit. I'm going to be here for some questions in a minute. And I can't wait to see your talks. Do take part. I want to receive your ideas, and I want you to change my mind on something and change my actions and change the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. That was great. I loved listening to your tips and all the advice that you just gave us. So guys, if you have any questions for Karen, you can write it down in the chat box below that you used in the beginning. And then we are going to have a questions and answer session. So anything that you want to know about public speaking, tips and tricks, advice, anything else. So I'm going to start off with one now, Karen. How did you overcome your fear of public speaking, if you ever had one? And if not, what advice would you give for that particular part?
Well, I had a very big journey because I started off as a dancer and I had a speech impediment, and I couldn't talk very well at all. And I went to the dentist. I'm slightly off kilter. And he said, well, it doesn't matter because she's a dancer. She doesn't need to speak. So thank you very much for that one. I think it was having a desire to really have something to say. If you've got something to say, then that's how you overcome it. And it goes back to what I was saying in the little presentation. Have a passion for something, and then you'll say it naturally, and the nerves go down. But do use the different techniques for the controlling nerves. One I find very good, apart from the Amy Cuddy one and the breathing, is just trying to feel the blood in your fingertips. And then sometimes what that does is it takes out all that internal chatter in your brain. Mm. And the other one is if you can do an exercise where you ask lots of people all the great things about you, your teachers, your friends, your family, and then choose 4 of them, 3 doesn't work for some reason, and make a little sentence. Excuse me. So in times of stress, when you've got someone on your shoulder going, you know nothing, why do they want to listen to you? They're not going to listen to me. Say first thing, I am the expert, it is my talk. And then you've got this little mantra, this little sentence with 4 key skills and points that give you the control.
Right. That's very interesting. Yeah, I also tie it back to what you said about being really passionate about what you're speaking about, because then so much more will come easier.
And I had one of the best talks I had was a client who never finished her presentation when we were rehearsing it. And it was about mental health, and it was a very delicate issue. She got up on stage and she gave that presentation right the way through. And someone next to me said, do you think she'll do it? And I was going, oh yes, fingers crossed. Yes. And because she had that passion to share that information, and at the end of the presentation, people were either clapping or crying. It was so moving because it was authentic, it was sincere.
Right. All right, I see in the chat box here, we actually have 2 questions that are related to debates. So Sophia is asking, what are your tips for slightly more formal debates? And Inara is also asking for some tips for debates, if you have any.
Ooh, I think it's knowing your subject very well, and not being put off by who you're debating with, and concentrating on what they're saying and not being put off by the way they're saying it. So if they're a bit aggressive, you don't worry about that. Concentrate on the words. And again, the issue.
Those are really good tips to actually focus on what they're saying so that you can rebuttal well instead of being intimidated by any aggression or things like that.
And this goes back to my main passion about people having a voice and being heard. And when you take part in training like this and presentations like this, when you go into your future careers, when you're in a team, you will have the confidence to have your ideas heard and you will speak up. Often in the workplace, it's a person who's got the most confidence and the quickest sort of thinking up things very quickly, but it's often not the person who's got the best ideas. So this is so important that we start nurturing these ideas at an early stage.
All right, so here's a question that we can sort of tie back to what you said about the debates, about focusing on what they're saying instead of how they're saying. Which would you say is more important, you know, as a speaker, either in a debate or a speech, presentation, anything? Is it the content or the delivery, or are they sort of equal?
They almost don't exist. They're like 2 really good friends that are interwoven.
Right. You can't have one without the other. You
can't have a good presentation without both. The only thing I could say is the reading. I've had some wonderful presentations, but they were written like an essay. And don't understand it. And then if you feel tempted to read, people don't understand, and you might as well just email it to us all. Right. So when you're preparing it, prepare it in written language, with dots and dashes and pauses, so you get a conversation, you go back to that conversational style. What's really important, the content is really important, because we want to get something from it.
Right.
And if you think of knowing your key points, I sometimes describe it like a lily pad. So if you've got, you know, the plant on the lake, and you jump from one to the other. So you know where you're going. So you have one idea, then develop it. Next lily pad, develop it. Next lily pad, develop it. And that's a very good thing if you're scared that you might forget what you're going. You know, you think, oh, I don't want to talk because I'm not going to remember it. If you know those subjects, those 4 subjects of the lily pads, even if you forget the bit after it, it's not the end of the world. But you have that clean structure.
Right. Okay, let's see. We have one more from Nesrin here in the chat box. It says, how do you make people convinced about what you're saying? And how do you have more voice and credibility?
How do you, can you say that again for me?
Right. So pretty much, how do we convince people into what we're saying? So perhaps it's a persuasive speech or a debate or something like that. How do we convince people, and how do we make ourselves seem credible speakers?
Okay, it's a really good question. 2 questions there. How do you convince them? By, I think, giving them something that they need to know. So if you maybe want to start a presentation with a question, and then you're going to have a solution, or give them a vision.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a future and then describe the future. So you're pulling them in, and the credibility will come with your research that you've done. You don't have to talk about, you have to be clear about your facts. Make sure your facts are clear. Make sure they're well researched. Make sure it's just not opinions. And that adds weight to your presentation. If you're doing data or figures, that helps. Make sure that you round up the numbers or round them down, and then people will understand them. If you're doing a written if you're doing an essay, you would do the detail, you do 4,551. But let's just say around 4,000. And then another tip is that you might want to do a visual comparison if you're doing figures. So if you're saying 800 tons of jeans are put in landfill every day, some people will understand that. Other people might say, oh, this building full of jeans is filled every day. So you do a visual comparison. Does that help?
Oh yeah, that was a great answer. Thank you. Okay, guys, so we're gonna have time for one more. You can put all of your questions in the chat box here below. So I'm gonna scroll through some and see, since we have time for one more, which one we could address.
I have to say thank you for asking questions. There's nothing worse than when there's no questions. So thank you.
Oh yeah, we have quite the audience here. So we have a few more. I'm going to see if anyone else wants to join in. So we have one from Saif about balancing ethos, pathos, and logos in our speeches. So we have a bit of rhetoric here. This goes back to sort of convincing and so on. So we can address that one.
I think we've talked about the data, making sure your information is right and you're a credible speaker. And then we also talk about, you've seen TED Talks and you see how you have that emotional connection with someone. Suddenly I watch a TED Talk and I'm watching it about window cleaning. And it's like, what? I don't care about window cleaning, but it's because I've got that emotional connection with the person. So often if you do your talk, if you say something personal, people connect with you. Mm. So I think it takes quite a lot of courage to say something personal, especially when you're giving it out to the whole world. But that will hook and people will connect to you with that.
Right, so connecting with our audience. That's a good one.
With that personal connection and then the information, proper data.
Right, and being that credible speaker. Okay, so if no one else has any questions, and then we're out of time as well. Karen, thank you so much. I really enjoyed hearing all of your tips and your advice. And I'm sure everyone else did as well. I'm seeing a lot of questions, a lot of comments were coming in. So
It's
thank you.
such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Can I ask a quick question to the audience? Could you
Sure.
just let me know what was most useful to you? If you could, that would be really helpful to know what tips resonated. Thank you.
Yes, guys. Okay, let's all write what we found most helpful in this talk. So either a tip or a trick, some piece of advice, or even just a fact. Like the fact, for example, for me was that the tone of the voice as it goes up and down, you know, if it's the same, it'll put someone to sleep. But if it goes up and down, it's easier to listen to. It's more interesting and, you know, it's easier to keep up. So everyone, let's see what you're saying down in the comments. Let us know what you thought was the most interesting or the most useful. Saif says, thank you. I enjoyed the workshop. Thanks for the workshop. Sophia says, I found your tips on connecting with people personally really helpful since my debate peers always tell me to improve this. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, so connecting with people personally, that was definitely a good one. Ramazan says everything.
Oh, thank you very much.
Everything you said.
And just one thing, one little tip. Often people, when they finish off their presentation, they go, thank you, and do a shrug. And the shrug negates all the wonderful work you've done in the presentation. So when you finish a presentation, just finish it with a thank you and a nod of the head. So
That's a good tip as well. There we have even more comments coming in. I'm guessing it took some time since they were, you know, typing it out. So City says how to deliver it with confidence, be the better version of me, and prepare data and all in clean structure. Christina says the voice and actions tips mostly. All other tips have been quite helpful as well. Thank you, Christina. Fiona says the tip about using our passion in order to raise our voices. I agree, that was such a good one. Zainab says she learned how to relax even if she's nervous before a speech or a presentation.
Good. So you can be the peacock with your feathers.
Right, yeah, a lot of us get nervous while talking. I do as well. So it's great to have those tips to calm yourself down and to get ready for the speech. All right, so once again, thank you everyone. Thank you for your comments. Karen, as you can see, the tips were very helpful to the audience, to me as well. I've learned a lot today, so thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for organizing it so well. It's made it very, very easy. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining our talk. If you have any questions, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find our contact details on our website as well, WeVoi. And here in the chat box, you have a WeVoi poster that you can download. And then you'll find a lot of information here about our topics, about our competition, our platform, and you'll have our contact information there as well. Okay, so goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you for
Bye,
listening.
and
Bye.
talk to you next time. Bye.